What's up, YouTubers? So it's officially the month of Christmas, and I'm sure you don't want to hear Christmas music, and I'm not going to play any for you. Well, maybe I will. But my thought was I would share some great ideas on things that are reasonably affordable, some more than others, that would be great Christmas gifts for yourself or stocking stuffers, and gifts great for a welder that's in your family or someone who just likes building stuff. So that's what we're going to tackle today. Let's get into it. So if you're looking to add a couple things to your shop that are affordable, or looking to get some stocking stuffers or gifts for a welder, fabricator, or builder in your family, I got a ton of ideas here of things you should be looking for. We're going to start out with the simplest, which are these little guys. They come in all sorts of sizes, shapes, designs. I even have another one over here somewhere. Oh, right in front of me, of course. This guy. These are commonly known as mag tabs. I generally buy the Strong Hand Tools brand. I find that there's a lot of generic ones out there, and they look similar, but when you get them, they're built cheap as hell. So my recommendation is to buy like ones that have a really good Amazon review, or buy from Strong Hand Tools. Don't go buy the cheapest ones of these. The magnets won't be that good. But like I said, these are called mag tabs. They have magnets typically on the back, on the front, and these work really awesome because if you have two pieces of steel and you want to tack them up, you can do just like you see here. And you can position them at different angles, all sorts of stuff. You can do on the outside of something if you need to weld like multiple panels together. You can see here, work really great for that. Very beneficial to have for fabricating and building stuff. And they're pretty affordable too. I bought these off of Amazon. You can buy them at local box stores, often sell these. Great option, and like I said, affordable. Pretty much everyone could use something like this. Now, I will say, if you're going to put these on an outside corner and then weld near it, keep in mind that the magnet will pull the arc towards it, so you want to be careful with that. And the second thing is, if you overheat these, the magnet will lose its magnetism. So you don't want to sit there and burn a hot pass right on top of this, because you will no longer have a magnet. But like I said, great option. Whoop, figures I drop it on the floor. Now this guy here is a little bit different. It's a little bit bigger of a unit. This is so that if you have like a pipe, such as this, you can set this on the pipe and then position a flat plate, such as that, and it will center it on the pipe potentially. And it's awesome for tack welding. You can use this thing for all sorts of stuff. So this is just another design, and you can reposition this to get it on the dead center. And you can also use it for that if you have a flat plate and you want to weld a pipe onto it. Awesome for that as well, just like you see here. So very useful tools. All right, let's move on. Goes without saying that anyone who works on stuff at all needs a BFH. Big fun hammer. This guy right here is my preferred bashing hammer, and it's oddly enough called the Wilton Bash. This little thing, which is a 4-pounder with, I believe, the 12-inch, looks like a 12-inch handle. Maybe it's considered the 16, whatever. Something like this, an indestructible mallet of some sort, is an awesome tool to have. This is a little bit pricey, but man, I've gotten years and years of use out of this, and this can really help you when you're in a bind. And you can use this on automotive, not just like fabricating welding stuff and banging welding plates in the place that you welded up crooked. So great tool to have. On that note, let me get this out of the way. It wouldn't hurt to get yourself a custom dead blow hammer like what I got here. I made this thing, and if you're a fabricator welder yourself, hey, make something cool like this to give out as a gift, because this video isn't just about what you should be getting for gifts, but you can make something like this or some kind of cool custom thing for a family member if you're a fabricator yourself, and you can use these as well. I mean, this thing is functional. Hopefully you're not deaf now, but handheld hammers, tools like that, great to have. Same thing, brushes, stainless brushes. Everyone who welds needs a couple brushes. These things only last so long and you wear them out. Now this is not my preferred style. They make a V brush that is awesome for pretty much cleaning any kind of welds you might run into, the slag off of it and stuff. So my recommendation is what they call a fillet weld brush. So get your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever, get a couple brushes like this. Bonus points if you write stuff on them too. Put motivational quotes, it'll help them. Speaking of material prep, this is a more pricey option here, okay? If you work around metal, you need a grinder. I mean, they go hand in hand. You have to have one. I, in the shop here, generally use cordless tools. I do have a ton. I probably have 10 corded grinders, and they're awesome and everything, but I find the convenience of the cordless to be better, and I don't need to hog off a lot of material, so the power that corded has over cordless, for me, isn't that huge. I don't do big projects anymore, so, you know, this is actually adequate. I run an 8.0 battery. It's decent. My guess is the 9.0 or the 12 is far better on a tool like this, but I get decent runtime with this. Now this is a little bit pricey. These generally run over 200 bucks with a battery, but they are useful. Now, getting a wheel with it as well, huge thing every welder, every fabricator needs. Grinder wheels, discs, hard rocks, cut-off wheels. They're pretty affordable. I mean, you can get a pack of discs, you know, cut-off wheels and hard rocks and flap discs, you know, 20, 30 bucks, stuff someone's stocking with that, and they will be happy. Trust me on that one. I bought this guy on Etsy, and I thought I was getting a taller one. This is a short one, but they make these and they literally look just like a tin of welding rods. These are great stocking stuffers or Christmas gifts for a welder in your family, fabricator, because, well, for one, the humor of it, it looks like you're drinking out of a welding rod can, but two, a lot of these are pretty decent and they hold coffee reasonably long, and you should be probably drinking coffee if you're a welder, at least some form of caffeine, so great. These cost, I don't know, 20 bucks, 30 bucks for a bigger one. I mean, they're not too unaffordable, I guess, and people like them. Another great gift, this is called a TIG finger, okay? Jody from Welding Tips and Tricks has been selling these for years, and the sales of these support what he does, which is much like what I do. He makes welding content and welding videos and how-tos, and has been kind of a staple in the community forever, and I highly recommend buying one of these from him. Now, you can get these cheaper on Amazon from like Chinese sellers, and you know, where it's knockoffs, okay? That's fine if you want to do that, but you got to remember that Jody is basically given a free college education to probably, you know, 10% of the welders that are out there now, and buying one from him helps support what he does. So my recommendation, buy what he's offering. And they do work. Basically, you slip this on your finger on your glove and you can prop on something, and then like with TIG welding, you can run this right down and not burn your knuckle. Same thing, this does work for MIG welding. And then you can also slip your hand through it, again with a glove on, and rest it on something. It really works great, highly recommend. And this doesn't fill your finger full of fiberglass. I had one that looked like this a long time ago, and I swear it was just shards right through the glove even of fiberglass. Sucked. This is decent. Speaking also of PPE, these are pretty affordable. There's tons of brands out there. These are Milwaukee safety glasses. I highly recommend getting a pair, at least one pair of safety glasses with a foam gasket on it. Yeah, you'll look a little bit funky wearing it, but hey, you won't get crap in your eyes. Like, I normally use cheaper safety glasses without the gasket, and I can't count how many times something slipped in between there and got in my eyes. So get a decent pair of safety glasses for someone you care about or for yourself. And I'll grab the ones I normally use. These are the pair that I normally wear. I just bought these Milwaukee ones to test out. I actually haven't even worn them yet. but this is what I normally wear. And I buy these off of Amazon. I found that these fit my big head just right. Pretty decent units. The Milwaukee ones seem to be all right. I just basically put them on for a minute and they're all right, but I really need to try them out. But get some with, like I said, that gasket of some sort. It'll help keep stuff out of your eyes. It goes without saying that if you're a welder yourself or you're looking to buy stuff for a welder, somebody who does weld, getting some welding materials is a must. So if they stick welding electrodes are great. If they MIG weld, then a spool of wire. If you don't know what kind of welding that they do, get them some steel. Now, you generally don't buy steel in little coupons like this from the store. It generally comes in a bar and then you have to cut it and process it yourself. So don't, expect to just go to Home Depot or a metal supplier and get a bunch of these. You'll pay a fortune to get little pieces like this. But getting someone you care about or yourself some steel and some welding electrodes or wire is a great way to become, well, a better welder. And it goes without saying that I don't care if you have a $7,000 machine or a $150 Harbor Freight machine. If you don't spend enough time to practice with it to get good, it doesn't matter. Like the machine you have almost doesn't matter. So having steel is probably the most important thing along with filler material and practice to actually become decent at welding. So spend some money on this stuff. Like this is where what matters more, honestly, than almost anything to become a good welder. You have to weld and you have to practice. A couple random things that I find useful, and this goes not just for welders, but just to have around in the home shop or whatever you got. These Milwaukee bags, which I believe they market for like electricians, they come in a 3-pack of assorted sizes. You may be able to buy them individually. I'm not too sure on it. I got this from Home Depot. This guy, very useful. I keep, and this is the only thing in here because I'm using the rest of it, but I use my sparker for a torch, but I keep my torch-related gear in here. Very handy to have. And they're affordable, and you can put all sorts of stuff in here. And if there's one thing that I think all of us could use is better organization, without a doubt. A couple other things that are useful. A flashlight. I don't know, my whole life I never had flashlights. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm always working in the dark, can't see anything. I got smart and got an M18 Milwaukee, like, portable spotlight of sorts, and that works great. But getting yourself a flashlight, you have no idea how a good rechargeable, decent flashlight how much it comes in handy. I mean, so having a decent flashlight in your shop must have. Markers and pens, especially pencils that mark on steel, very handy to have. I generally buy whatever I can get. This is a Markall brand, but Milwaukee makes these. All sorts of companies make them. You want to have a good selection of these and keep a bunch on hand because you will lose them, or at least I do. In a given week, I don't know where they all disappear to, but they're gone. So very handy, very affordable. Like I said, a lot of the stuff I'm showing you aren't that expensive and extremely useful on a daily average basis. Now, another one, this multi-tool. A lot of us guys, and you ladies too, we do all sorts of stuff. We build stuff, and how often do you need, a scissors, a knife, a pry bar, something like that? Now, this is a Gerber, I think they call it a pry something. I don't know. I'll put up the name now. This is a pretty useful tool. I bought it recently, been using it. I find uses for it every day. Another tool, and I'll go grab mine. Probably the most useful tool that I carry on a daily basis is this Leatherman Surge with the pliers on it. This thing has been a beast to tank for me for years. Now this probably sells for somewhere between 150 and 200 bucks. I don't know what they're up to now, but if you really want a single tool that does it all, that's very useful, you really can't beat a pliers like this. I mean, every day I'm using this thing for something. And I will give you guys a tip. I'm not really too brand loyal. But when you compare Leatherman to like Gerber, which a lot of people do, and they both sell tools, I find that Leatherman makes far better quality tools across the board, which, yeah, I have a Gerber here, it's decent, but the fit and finish on this is miles better than the Gerber. Like, when you look at this, on face value, it looks good, but when you really look at the details, like how well this is sanded on the backside of the knife and the scissors and all that, like just the fit and finish everywhere that you can't easily see on this is very poor. Leatherman doesn't screw around like that, and I don't know. Their tools, in my opinion, are better. But hey, we don't have unlimited budgets. I get that. So get a quality tool. Stay away from any multi-tool that's like $10 on Amazon. Don't even gift that to someone, even yourself. It's not going to pay off in the long run. You're just going to be mad when it breaks. All right, let's keep going. Couple other random things. It pays to have an impact drill or driver. Now, this is an impact gun just because I have my drill somewhere else right now and I couldn't find it, and then realized, well, I don't have it here in the shop, that's why. But I would recommend a cordless drill over a impact driver like this. And the reason is that when you have a little workshop and you need to drill a hole, I'm not a huge fan of the bits for this that use the hexagonal drive. And the reason is well, one, they're more expensive. Two, you have a lot less choices in the bits for that. And you can do far more with an actual drill with a chuck than you can with these. But if you can afford it, to get the combo where it comes with a drill driver and then this impact driver, great option for you. I would highly recommend it. I'm partial to Milwaukee tools. They've treated me really good. The batteries last forever. My opinion is probably controversial, is I would personally stay away from the Ryobi brand tools, which is funny because the parent company in Milwaukee makes Ryobi. I don't know what it is with their tools. They tend to be decent to tool themselves, but I've never had a battery last on any of their tools. After like 6 months, 8 months, they no longer take a charge and they barely last. I'm talking like 3 holes and it's dead. This battery here, this exact battery, is probably 4 or 5 years old and still works great, and I use it all the time. I never got more than 8 to 9 months out of Ryobi before the batteries are dead. So stick with your Makitas, your DeWalts, your Milwaukees. Stick with the name brand tools. Honestly, it'll pay off in the long run, especially for reliability. This, which a lot of you guys probably aren't too familiar with, especially if you don't stick weld, this is what's called a rod bag. So what this is it holds welding electrodes, and you can either loop this on your belt if you like your pants to fall down around your ankles, or you can just loop it on a nail or something on your welding bench, and this keeps the rods that you're using for a job all readily accessible. And this honestly beats using the tin that they come in that's going to fall over, that you can't really hang on anything. So I highly recommend a nice rod pouch like this. Now this is the FR version. They do make just a straight canvas version that's a little cheaper. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about getting the FR one. I seriously doubt that it's going to be an issue that this is going to set on fire, that you need to pay more money. But hey, if you like welding on top of this, get the FR version. But there's tons of companies that make this. This is a Klein Tools. I bought it off of Amazon. Most of the stuff I buy is on Amazon, as probably you do. Great thing for an aspiring stick welder or someone that is going to school to learn. Great thing because it helps keep your rods organized. Now, something that's important for all of us, and I'm not going to turn this into a safety video, guys, okay? I hate to bring up safety, I get it, is I got a respirator here, or a filter mask, we'll call it. This is the identical one to what Miller makes, okay? Miller Electric markets this. It's actually GVS brand. So I highly recommend getting one of these because it will protect your lungs. Now, it goes without saying, welding isn't good for you. The fume off a stick and MIG and even TIG isn't good for you. Even worse for you is the grinder dust that sits in your lungs and doesn't leave. especially with stainless. This will protect your lungs significantly against carcinogens like hexavalent chromium and just all that grinder dust. Like, do you really want whatever this is made out of in your lungs? No, you don't. Or in your nose. This will protect you. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is 30 some bucks, 35 bucks. This will literally probably add 3 to 5 years on your life if you work around metal a lot just by wearing this. So is $35 and a set of cartridges 2-3 times a year worth it for 3 to 5 years on your life? I would say so. And I don't mean to be morbid about it because this is a Christmas video of sorts, but seriously, guys, buy this for yourself, buy it for your loved ones. Tell them, wear it. It doesn't work if it sits in a box like this. And that goes for me too. I generally wear stuff like this, but I have been pretty bad lately, so I'm going to make a commitment to start wearing stuff more regularly again. You know, we all need to. All right, enough safety. So these are a little bit on the pricier side, and I get that. I mean, an average 3-box cart's probably $200 to $300. So this is definitely a little bit over the stocking stuffer and more towards a Christmas gift. But I can tell you without a doubt that anyone who likes to be organized and have a place in a home for stuff, these packouts are invaluable. I personally like the Milwaukee packouts. That's all that I use. I have owned and still own some from DeWalt and Cobalt and all sorts of brands. And honestly, I don't find that any of them are any better than this. Your opinion may vary, but the key is to have something of decent quality that you can put your tools and your gloves in is a great thing, especially if you go and do mobile work, whatever it is you do. You don't have to use these just for welding, but the organization and mobility of these is awesome. And I constantly overload these. I don't know what they're rated for, but you know, I put way more weight on these things than they should, and they've held up for years. So I'm pretty impressed with them, and you got to have something like this in your home shop. And anyone that you know that's into building stuff, they need something like this. Now, one thing I will say with these, I find the smaller boxes, so the less deep ones and the ones with dividers in it, like that top one over there, to be a little bit more useful than these big bottom boxes. Now, I have 2.5 complete sets here, but the bigger boxes, I find you put stuff in them, and then pretty soon it's too deep of stuff, and you got to remove half of it to get at what's in there. So the smaller boxes, for me personally, because I'm a disorganized individual, that they help me out better. So that's my thought on it, because they do make like almost this size box that you can stack on top. I do not own any of them with the drawers that pull out. Those are a great option as well. So again, if you know the person you're buying for, or you're buying it for yourself, you know, do some thought process on what would work best for your situation. Now, I also have that big pack out over there, and that one I put a welder in when I go off-roading because, well, it's waterproof and it makes it really easy to haul around. So that's another option, but again, unless you have big tools, I wouldn't recommend to buy that for someone or for yourself over a smaller set with individual drawers. It's just not that useful. Like I said, you're going to end up pulling everything out of it to even get at what you want in the bottom. So that's big items only. The rest of you will probably work better with that stuff. Anyone who works with metal at some point is going to have to either get a bandsaw, be it a portable or a horizontal unit, or a dry cut saw like this. This is an invaluable tool if you work a lot with metal because it cuts so fast. I would highly, highly recommend do not buy a cut-off abrasive chop saw where it uses a giant grinder disc rather than a saw blade. And the reason is simple. One, they produce a massive amount of dust when they cut, and two, they're unbelievably slow. They're almost not worth it. Unless you're cutting rebar all day, don't buy an abrasive chop saw. Buy a dry cut saw or a portable bandsaw or something. And with that said, a viewer of mine, he has a portable setup where it has a Harbor Freight mini bandsaw stand, and I'll put pictures of it up now. He says it's great. I've heard other great things about it. That with the table and the porta bandsaw, is a little bit less probably than this and will probably work better for a lot of you out there. And the reason I say that is this is really, in my opinion, only good at cutting thick steel. If I put a piece of exhaust or something in here, this blade has a tendency to cut, tear, and throw stuff like that, especially, say, 1/8" material. If I tried to cut it with this, it's going to grab it and tear it up. Band saws are far better suited for thin material, tube, and pipe, thin wall pipe, than this is. So my recommendation for most of you, especially on the more affordable end, look at one of them portaband saws and the table that goes with it. It will do you wonders and save you a lot of time. Or of course you could use a Sawzall like I do frequently. That's also another option. Again, a little bit on the pricey side, so this would fall more under like a Christmas gift and not a stocking stuffer, but a decent grinder, a bench grinder. Now, this one I've been using for a while. It's okay. I like it. I'm kind of disappointed that what I knew about it to begin with, which these belts are an odd size and very difficult to get. I should have listened to people who said that because they're right. But a normal, decent bench grinder is invaluable. You can sharpen tungsten on it. You can sharpen drill bits. You can sharpen tools. Great tool to have. Is it a necessity? Well, a smaller one, I would say, is yes. Now, a bigger one like this with a fancy belt on it, is that? Well, depends on what you're doing, but it doesn't hurt to have something like this, and most people would appreciate something like this in their shop. I saved the most expensive for last, okay? And that's, well, a welder, okay? If you are yourself aspiring to work with metal or build stuff, or someone you know is, they're going to need a welder. And unfortunately, this is practically the most expensive single tool in the shop. And for the most part, they're not cheap. Okay. You can't get away from it. I have a collection of, more affordable to expensive to ludicrous, which it pretty much does go in that order on expense. But the truth is, you don't need to spend a massive amount of money to get something that you can build stuff with. And that's the awesome thing about welding is, as long as you get to like a certain tier above what I would call garbage, which it isn't really that hard, you can make a ton of stuff with very simple, cheap equipment. And that's why, like on the low end, my favorite welder is the Harbor Freight Titanium 125 flux core wire welder. And I'll put a picture and the details up now. That is a great welder. I've owned two of them. I gave one of them away on a giveaway a year ago or something, and I'm going to end up buying another one pretty soon because they're just too useful for what they do, which you can weld up to about 3/16 steel with them safely, if you have the skill, of course. They weld great. Don't buy one of them Harbor Freight Chicago Electric welders. Those are trash. Don't even waste $100. Don't waste, I don't care if someone offers it to you for $5. It's not worth it. And that's because they weld on the wrong polarity. From the beginning, they're useless because they can't make decent welds, really. So that Harbor Freight Titanium 125 for about 150 to 170 bucks, you can't go wrong with that. You can build all sorts of stuff with that. So look at that on the cheaper end. On the more expensive end, this Firepower FP200, which is an awesome, great MIG welder, these are still occasionally available for $500 to $600. This is basically the same welder as the ESAB 210 EM, which is like $1,000. So it's a $1,000 welder for $500, $600. If you can find one of these, awesome, do it. Great MIG welder. Your other options generally for this class of a 200 amp MIG machine are far more. They're generally in the 800 plus range. For stick welding and stuff, something like this little guy, great option. They run between 800 and 1,000 depending on what model. This is the more TIG orientated one. It's called the ET200 Pro or whatever, ESAB, and great option. But the truth is, you don't need something that's $1,000 to be able to stick weld or to really TIG weld. There's a lot of options out there, like Everlast makes welders. Look at them. Very feature rich for reasonable prices. They're generally not built as well or the fit and finish of these, but they're still an option. Same thing with Harbor Freight, their Vulcan brand. are all good welders. The titanium line, pretty good welders. I mean, they lack some features, but again, for the price, you really can't go wrong. And yeah, all of them cost a lot of money. There's no way to get around from that, some more than others, but you don't need high-end equipment to start building stuff. The key is start practicing on your plates, run lots of wire, lots of rods. Even on a cheap welder, you're fine. You'll learn a ton. And then when you're good, you can upgrade. Okay? So you don't have to have the best in the world to be good. All right, let's go to conclusion. So I didn't mention it, and I'll mention it now. Regarding welders, it's important to set expectations on what you want to use the welder for. And what I mean by that is, if you don't buy a welder that's appropriate for what you're looking at doing, you're going to be severely disappointed. So if you're just planning on working on restoring a car, 140 amp MIG welder is probably perfect for you because nothing's going to be thick enough to really need more power than that. If you plan on stick welding stuff on a tractor, you might need a 180 amp machine or maybe even bigger. And if your end goal is to do a lot of aluminum welding, well, you're going to need a decent TIG machine for that more than likely. So what I'm getting at is, it pays to have an understanding of the limitations of different machines and processes, and then buy something that's appropriate for what you're looking at doing. And if you don't understand any of that, honestly, your best bet is to really talk with the person if it's for a gift, and just learn a little bit so that you don't make the wrong mistake and buy them something they can't use. Or, you can always buy a gift card to Harbor Freight or Northern Tool or whatever, and that they can pick it out themselves. So that's always an option too. But I can tell you, being that welders are so expensive, it really pays to get something that will work for a person in the long run, because you're pissing your money away otherwise. With that said, I covered a lot of great ideas. I'm sure you guys have great ideas as well for stocking stuffers and gifts and useful stuff. Be sure to share them. I didn't even cover welding gloves. Great gift you can give to someone, and they're affordable, 10 to 25 bucks. Very useful. We all need welding gloves. And I can't stress enough, again, practice. So you need steel, you need wire or rods, whatever. You need practice. That's how you get to be a good welder. All this stuff, other than the rods and the steel, won't make you a better welder, really. That's practice will. Feel free to leave a comment with some ideas that you think would be great for gifts and stocking stuffers for other people. And if you guys got any questions on something, feel free to ask me as well. I'll respond and let you know my opinion on something. But with that said, take care. Until next time.